Jennifer and welcome back to Busy Being Jen. I'm here today to talk about preparations for an upcoming trip I have. I've done some videos in the past about pre-trip prep and putting together a travel notebook, and that is what I was working on today, so I thought I would share it with you. This is not a huge trip. This isn't something big like a cruise or a long vacation. We are simply going to see my husband's sister and her husband for a few days. I think we're going to, including the travel days, it'll be 5 days. So I like to start by putting together a travel notebook that kind of has a bunch of different things. Part of it is like lists of things to do and things to remember, and part of it has to do with keeping travel documents and boarding passes and things like that. So let me kind of walk you through this. So what I do on the first page is I list things that I need to do leading up to the trip. So if there's like a month before I need to do something, I put those things down. For this trip, I've just got some things for 2 days before the trip, the day before the trip, and then I have a list of things that I am thinking I want to include in my carry-on bag. I have a list, and I'll go through these things in a little bit more detail, of kind of the staples that I would pack for pretty much any trip. Clothes I want to pack for this trip, and as you can see, there's not a lot because it's a pretty short trip. And then let's see, a daily schedule. This is actually something that is more important if we're going to be vacationing and we've got different things planned for the different days or things we might want to do on different days. I don't necessarily keep to a rigid schedule on a vacation, but I like to plan. I like, my husband and I to talk about some things we would like to do just to make sure that we don't forget to do something that we really thought we wanted to do. And then I have a place for boarding passes, and if necessary, a place, if I can turn the page, a place for passports, which we won't need for this trip. This is just a really simple little presentation notebook that I got from Staples. It's just plastic. It has a place in the front to slide in a piece of paper. I usually get some clip art for the place that we're going. This one says Boise, and then there's a bunch of extra in the back of this, and I won't be needing to put in a lot of things like hotel or transportation, things like that, because we're going to be picked up at the airport by my husband's sister and staying at their house, and so it's a lot less comprehensive than I would normally put together. But let me go ahead and share with you some of these things just in case you are interested in using something like this. Let me just say beforehand, whenever I am planning a trip, we have 3 pets. A dog and 2 cats, and so we can't go on a trip unless we have arrangements made for who's going to take care of our animals. We had a really great pet sitter. She was just wonderful, and we used her for a couple of years, and then she got married. So when your pet sitter gets married, usually you lose your pet sitter. So we were kind of concerned about what we were going to do. We're actually going to board our dog at a kennel in town, and it's a really nice place, and we even take her over there for like doggy day camp, like 1 day a week just to socialize with other dogs. And so for her to go there and stay for a few days is probably not going to be that big of a deal for her because she already really likes the place. And so we had to make arrangements, though, for somebody to come into our place and take care of our cats, just feed them twice a day, clean up the litter box. And we did finally come up with somebody who could help us out with that. And so that's something I always have to take care of first before I will even buy plane tickets, because the trip ain't happening if we don't have somebody to take care of our animals. And just to let you know, I did kind of investigate the possibility of boarding our cats at the same place. But, cats get stressed out if you rearrange the furniture in your living room. So to have them go to a place, a kennel would send them over the edge. They'd both be having diarrhea for the next 2 weeks. And so I figured it would be a lot better if they could just stay home. It'll be stressful enough for them to have somebody they don't know very well coming in, and so yeah. Okay, all right, so this is my plan for this upcoming trip. 2 days before the trip, I'm gonna paint my nails. I always like to also get my rings cleaned before I go on a trip. Partly because it's nice to have, you know, nice, pretty, clean jewelry, but also because it's just a good idea to get, especially if you have stones in your rings, get them checked periodically to make sure that the diamonds aren't loose. And sometimes when I've taken them in just to get cleaned before a trip, they've said that, you know, they're fine. And sometimes they've said they had to tighten something up. And so, you know, my husband and I probably travel on an airplane once a year, maybe 2 times a year. And so it's just a good way to keep my rings in good shape. I also hate to pack dirty makeup brushes and hairbrushes. I just don't like it. So anyway, even though I clean my makeup brushes once a month, I will still clean them 2 days ahead, and then get them all time to dry out and everything, and then pack those, and I soak my brushes, get them all scrubbed off, you know, any residue that's on there, and get them dried out so I can pack them. And then 2 days before, I will pick up some cash for tips or whatever. All right. The day before the trip. Now, the day before the trip, I always check in with the airline 24 hours in advance. And, you know, I've always been one to check in early, but not necessarily like right away 24 hours in advance, until I had a situation where we were going on a cruise and we were flying in to where the port was on the day the cruise left. I would never recommend doing that again. We haven't done it since. We had a plane problem. There was a hole in the cargo hold, and they got us a new plane, but it had 30 fewer seats, and the way they decided who was going to get on the plane was not how urgent somebody's trip was or travel was, but they decided by order of check-in, meaning like who checked in 24 hours ago, and you know, and from there. And I had forgotten to check in until dinner time that night. Thankfully, we were still among some of the first people to get on the plane, and so we were able to make it to our cruise before it left. But that's just something I do. If my flight is leaving at 10 o'clock, then I make sure that 10 o'clock, 24 hours in advance, I check in. And so then I will print out my boarding passes, and I will put them in the section of this notebook where I have designated for boarding passes. Then I always have, we charge all our devices. So if we're bringing, you know, of course, our phones, if we're bringing iPad or a computer or whatever, we make sure we charge those. I will even charge an external battery that's got a USB port in it, because sometimes when you're in a hotel or whatever, there's just not enough spaces for everyone to, you know, charge their devices, and so to have an external battery is kind of nice. Or if you're on a plane and you're watching movies and it runs down your iPad really fast, you can charge it up. So I will bring the external battery along, and so I make sure that it's fully charged the day before. I also switched to a smaller wallet. I don't feel the need to bring every single credit card I have with me, and so I typically will just bring 2 credit cards, one, the one I intend to use, and a backup just in case there's some kind of an issue with that card. You know, sometimes you get like a fraud alert or something and they close down your use of that card. So I bring 2, my insurance cards, my cash, of course, my driver's license, and a debit card. So that's pretty much all I take is, you know, I just clear everything out to just those things. The day before, I will also be taking my dog over to the kennel. We'll be doing that in the evening. We're leaving in the early morning the next day. And so, you know, in the evening at about 4:30 or 5, we'll be taking her over there so she can get settled in. And then also I will be getting my keys to our pet sitter, who's going to be coming in and taking care of the cats. So those are the things I have listed. Now, it might be as we get a little bit closer to the trip that I'll realize that there are some other things that I need to do, and I can just write those things in. So, Okay, and I also plan for what I'm going to bring in my carry-on bag. We are actually going to bring some carry-ons that go in the overhead bins this time. If we go on a longer trip, we usually just check our bags. But this time we thought, you know, we're just going to bring 2 small bags that go in the overhead bin. But for what's going to go under the seat, kind of the thing that I will want to access during the trip, I have that I'm going to have my travel folder in there. Possibly a book, but I'm also listening to an audiobook, so I'll just bring headphones for sure to listen to that. My wallet, because I don't like to carry a purse while I'm traveling. It's just an extra thing to have and an extra thing to have to shove under the seat. I will pack my luggage, kind of pack it flat and with nothing in it. And then I will put my wallet in my carry-on bag, that, you know, the one that I will have under my seat. And so yeah. Also, I will put in there any makeup items that will need to come out of the bag for going through security, anything that's liquid. I will go ahead and put those in the little, you know, plastic bag thing that you have to take out when you go through security, so that'll be in there. If I was taking a computer, it would go in this bag, although I'm probably not taking my computer. I will bring charging cords that we need. My phone, of course, my reading glasses, and yeah. I found when we went on our trip overseas that I packed my little under-seat carry-on bag so full of, you know, like every possible thing that I would possibly want to keep myself entertained. And that was not the best idea, because then I had to, you know, I'm leaning down to open this thing that's under the seat, and then I pretty much had to unpack the whole thing to get to stuff. So I really recommend just kind of thinking, you know, you can't take it all with you. You're not going to do everything on a plane. And going from Arizona to Boise, I mean, it's not a very long flight. So I'm not bringing a ton of stuff. I might bring knitting with me and work on a project while I listen to an audiobook. So, okay, so the next page is a packing page, and this is just the essentials, things that I would bring on pretty much any trip. If I was going on a cruise or something like that, I would have some other stuff on here, but this is just kind of a basic list. And what I have listed for toiletries: toothbrush, toothpaste, floss, deodorant, cotton balls, tweezers, shampoo, nail file, my skincare, my brushes and my comb, my hairband and hair tie, makeup, my hairspray and hair wax, curling iron, lotion, and Q-tips. I also will put in, I utilize makeup bags a lot for things. And so I'll take a little bit larger makeup bag, and for example, for keeping charging cords and my external battery, and if I'm going to offload video from my phone to my computer, if I was bringing that, then I would have that. I will have another kind of an RX bag that has any medication, hand sanitizer, headache pills, Tide to Go pen, you know, stuff like that. Basics like underwear, socks, pajamas, tennis shoes, workout clothes, a clutch purse, possibly a tote bag. If I'm going on a vacation where I think I'm going to be buying souvenirs and I may not have enough room in my suitcase for the way back, I'll pack a kind of a flimsy duffel bag that doesn't take up very much room in the suitcase, and that way if it turns out that I'm not going to have enough room as I'm packing to come home, I can just take that out and have another bag that I'm taking home with me, and I can put some stuff in that. And then here you can see that I've left some lines, and that section is called jewelry, and then as I decide what jewelry I'm going to bring with me, I will write it in there by hand. Clothes to pack. This is a really short list. I don't need to read it to you, but just a short list of things that we're taking for this brief trip. For a bigger trip, I would plan the things I absolutely know I'm going to take, and then I'll have a column of lines, kind of like over here. And then as I am getting closer to the trip and thinking of stuff I want to wear, or maybe I go shopping and buy some new stuff, and then I can write those things in by hand and then make sure that I have put them in the bag before I leave. Okay, so then the next page is a daily schedule. And this one, I mean, this is real basic. I've just put down the time that we're going to be leaving to drive from Flagstaff to Phoenix, where the airport is. So the time we need to leave, and then the time our flight is leaving, and then also, then I just put down Friday through Sunday, we're going to be in Boise, and then Monday we're going to be leaving, Boise at 6:40 a.m. very early. We only had a choice of either really early or really late. So since we have to pick up our dog from the kennel, we're going early. All right, then the stuff that follows, I put in order of how I'm going to be accessing them or when I'm going to need to access them. So I haven't put this in here yet, but I will be putting in a page of information about where we're going to be leaving our car at the airport. So what airport parking garage it's going to be in. If we pay in advance, I will print out the receipt for that and keep it in here so I have confirmation. If I'm not paying in advance, I will still print out a page from the company's website so I can remember which parking company it was and their phone number if we need to get in touch with them when we get back. And then after that, of course, if we were driving down and staying in a hotel before the trip, I would put the hotel information in there. So then I put in the boarding passes, of course, that I print out. And then after that, it would just go from there, what comes next. After, we're literally not going to be having much more in here beyond that. But if we were on a longer vacation, then we would have to think about transportation from the airport to the hotel or transportation to the cruise port. I would have information about that. Then the hotel where we're going to be staying. If it's a cruise, I would have all the cruise documents in there. If we're going on like cruise excursions, or if we're on just a regular vacation and there's places we're going to visit, I might just print out a page about that location just to kind of have it in there. And then at the end of it, then I would have another page that had our travel itinerary for the way back and transportation and all that kind of stuff. So it's all in order, it's all in the same place, and it's all super easy to access. It helps me, if I'm going on a long trip, then I start putting my notebook together a couple months before the trip. It just, some of the things you have to make arrangements for a long time in advance. So as soon as I do that, then I start printing stuff out and putting them in my notebook. If it's a short trip, then just, this is just a few weeks in advance. And that way it helps me not only just keep stuff together, but it helps me process through just what I need to do and stuff maybe that I have forgotten about. Now, one thing I want to mention too, as part of my pre-trip prep, is that I do something interesting with my makeup stuff, my makeup bag, because I can't tell you how many times I have packed my makeup bag for a trip, and then the morning of the trip I go to put my makeup on, and then I inadvertently just put something back on the shelf where it normally goes because I'm in a habit of doing that, and then I get going on my trip and realize, crud, I don't have my hairbrushes, or I forgot my foundation. So what I do is a few days in advance, and this just reminds me I need to put this on here for 3 days in advance of the trip, because that's about how far in advance I do this. I pack my makeup bag and I keep it on the counter or, hang it up, whatever, in the bathroom, and I do not open up a cabinet or a makeup case or anything else where I have makeup. Makeup or brushes or any, skincare or any of that kind of stuff. I work out of those bags for 3 days before the trip. That helps in a couple of ways. For one thing, it kind of gets you in the habit of just using those bags, and you put on your foundation, you stick it back in the bag, so that you're less likely to put something back on a shelf and forget it on the day of the trip. The other thing it does is it helps you to realize if you've forgotten something. So you may have packed up your makeup bag and then you go to get ready in the morning and you go, shoot, I didn't pack my eyeliner. And so it helps you to realize what you've forgotten. And so that's just kind of a little tip you may want to try so that you don't forget things for your trip. Anyway, I hope this was helpful for you, and I hope that you will continue watching Busy Being Jen. If you're not a current subscriber, hit that button right there. YouTube will let you know when I upload new videos, which is quite often. So I hope you'll join me again on Busy Being Jen. Take care, you guys. Bye-bye.